Hey everyone, Shaedow here, and welcome to another Marvel Contest of Champions video. So we finally finished Act 5.3. I did not include every single fight, but I wanted to showcase a few champions that I don't often get a chance to fight with. Now this is Act 5.3.4, and it is the Bleed Immune path. That was the last path that I had to do to fully complete Act 5.3. And as you can see here, I brought in Thor. Now, Thor, I just recently ranked him up to 5. Yes, he's a 4-star. He does not exist as a 5-star, but I think it was worth it. And you'll see that he does some work. You know, he may not be an Angela or a Medusa, but he is still very good, and I like him. I have no regrets ranking him up to 5. I did that during, I think, the last Cosmic Advancement event. But anyway, the thing with Thor is you want to try to get armor breaks on your opponent. You can stack 2 max, and that allows you to do a lot of damage. Now his L1, I love his L1. It does damage and it stuns. If you go almost to your L2, and you can stack 2 armor breaks and go after him, you can actually do a fairly good job of chain stunning. Now, when I'm fighting Magneto here, I don't know what it was, but I was having a hard time landing my parries. I don't know whether that's something with him, something with the game, or if I was just off a little bit. But I did land parries, and you can see the damage that he was taking in this fight. That's all block damage. I never actually got hit. And I finished it off with an L1. And I have a few more fights with him. I tried to go all the way until I, you know, basically got taken out. Alright, so the Mighty Thor, he's at half health. But look at what he does to Psylocke here. It is just nuts. Look at his damage. Alright, now, if you don't remember, this particular quest, Cosmic Champions are the ones that do not have their attack reduced. So he's actually doing his full damage here. And it is impressive. I do like Thor. He was actually my first 3-star.
Godlike.
When I got him as a 4-star, I was excited because I knew what he could be like once he was awakened, and I waited for him to get awakened for the longest time. And then when I finally awakened him, I said, okay, I'm going to take him up to rank 5. But I never did because I kept getting other champions. I got Hyperion, then I got Angela and Medusa, and I just couldn't justify ranking him up because I thought that those others were far better, and I still do, but that doesn't mean that he is not good. Alright, so I'm fighting Loki here. Loki is pretty straightforward to fight, except in that one case where I was fighting him with Rocket Raccoon and I got caught in the corner. I don't get caught by his L2, as you can see. It is very easy to avoid. You just gotta put distance between you and him. His L1, you know, sometimes I'll get the timing a little bit off and get hit with it, but not very often, and you could block it if you really want to. With a stacked Loki like this, you don't want to take too many blocked hits. Otherwise, you're just going to use units. You know, because if you take too many blocked hits, eventually you're going to go down, and you'll need to revive. So the more you can evade, the more you can avoid the blocked hits, the less resources that you'll take. And you can see here that I could have gone in, and I tried to put some distance because I didn't want to push him to his L3 accidentally. And as what happens so very often, he attacked right at the moment that I dashed back and clipped me. But he didn't take him out, And I was able to get that stun and finish him off. He's actually very fun to play, and he fits my playstyle. I have a parry playstyle. I don't do what they call the stun immune playstyle very often unless I have to. Alright? And that is how the Mighty Thor went down. What happened there, I was just trying to evade, as you saw, and one of the times I tried to evade, it just didn't, and that was it. Now, this fight, I'm fighting with Starkey, and sometimes Mordo is pretty easy to fight, but sometimes he is a pain. And in this fight, he was a pain. Now, keep in mind, Starkey, I don't have the blade synergy, so that's a problem, because like right here, I need to build up more poise charges. But I kept stunning him, and then he would go to the power gain, and of course he wasn't going to be attacking when he was doing that, although sometimes he does sneak you and do it. But all I'm trying to do is build poise charges, and it's not so easy. So I get off my L2, which does a fair amount of damage, and like I say, all I'm trying to do is build up poise charges and do as much damage as I can. But I'm also fighting game mechanics, and I should have rested my phone before this fight when Thor went down because the evade didn't register, but I didn't, and it seemed like everything was going okay, but you'll see that that wasn't the case. Alright, so here I was trying to fire off that heavy, but I don't have him in the corner, and if you don't have him in the corner, he is very difficult to manage. Okay, see, like that, he's gonna just keep backing up. There's not really much you can do there. You know, you need him in the corner, so I'm trying everything I can to try to, you know, get him there. And as you saw there, I still tried to get that power down from his L3, but I was a little too close when he was stunned and got astral evaded. I don't know, since it has a little distance on it, I'm not sure if that would have happened if I was further back or not. I've never tried it, but that's what I was trying there. And right there, again, I tried to evade. It didn't evade, but it did allow me to block, but I didn't have enough health, and I just took a lot of block damage, and that was that. Alright, so I keep going, still not resting the phone, and I go in with Hyperion. And Hyperion, as I've said before, he is a beast. Any problems that most people have is because they don't play them right or they make a mistake, like that one. I mistimed the stun duration, and something that I often do is I'll attack once and then do the heavy, and then I try to do another heavy, but I started that one a little bit late, and it was enough time for him to come out of the stun, fire his special off while I was trying to do my heavy, and it was all she wrote. Completely my fault there. Alright, so the Mighty Thor went down, and now tags in Angela. Now at this point, I do not have any champions alive except Angela. And I have a fair number of opponents left. And I already knew that I was going to end up having to use some of my stash. I haven't had to use units for any of this content, not even the collector. Because I grind arena so much, I always have a stash available before I do anything like this. But my stash is getting pretty low because I went hard on several, including uncollected modes and everything, and we've had so much that we could do recently, and I just kept going, and so my stash is a little low. Alright, so Angela, as you saw, she finished off one opponent. She's just going through. Angela's a beast. You can see she's still not awakened, and I still rank 5'd her and do not regret it. Her awakened ability does not really do much of anything. It's fairly useless. Now, Angela, what you want to do, and I did make a few mistakes fighting with her. Anytime you see me fire off an L2 with Angela, that's a mistake on my part. I was not looking carefully enough, and mistimed it. Okay, but what you want to do is you want to go all the way until almost the second bar of power, like that, and then you want to fire off your L1, and then you attack again, and when you get to that 1 bar of power, you gain 3 furies. Okay, so you gain 1 fury when you get to a bar of power. Then when you fire off your L1, it copies the last buff that you got, which was a fury, and so then you have 2 furies. Then if you get back to your 1 bar of power, you'll have 3. So the rotation is to almost get to that L2, fire off your L1, so you have 2 furies, then you just attack a little bit and boom, you're back over 1 bar and now you have 3 furies, and you just wash, rinse, and repeat that so that you can maintain those 3 furies. That's how I believe it's best to maximize Angela's damage, and she can put out a lot of damage. One of the reasons that she does so well on this path is because she doesn't rely on any debuffs or bleeds. So the fact that they're bleed immune does not matter at all. Now, I had to speed these fights up because she has a class disadvantage. All of my cosmics had a class disadvantage on all of these different fights where they were facing these mystic champions. And what that does is, one, it allows Kabam to really pull out the shenanigans, and it makes the fight longer. And the fights are not anything real special. You know, I'm fighting Thor Jane Foster here the same way I would fight her at any other time. The only difference fighting her with Angela is the class disadvantage, and it takes longer, so there's more time for you to make a mistake. And I did make a couple of mistakes, but you can see her health is really low, but she still put her away. I have no regrets ranking her to 5 on Awaken. Alright guys, so I told you that I did not include all the different fights, so I skipped a bunch, and here we are at the final boss, Hyperion. And I do not have a good power control champion for him. And on this last path, he was stun immune, he got his power gain and everything. He had all 3 boosts going on him here. So I already knew what was going to happen. Alright, so all I'm doing here is trying to do as much damage as I can before he goes to his L3 and wrecks me. This is pretty much collector style. If you haven't fought the collector, you'll know what I'm talking about when you finally do. But there's not really much you can do except try to do as much damage in the time that you have, as you saw there. And you can see there's not much I can do there. He's gonna go to his L3. Once he got to his L3, it was all over with. Wash, rinse, and repeat. I'll come in with another champion and do the same, but because he's not going to heal like a Wolverine might, I don't have to worry about actually getting deadlocked and not being able to take him down. With each fight, he gets closer to being knocked out. Now right there, I got a little bit too eager and went in early. But any amount of damage that I can do to him is goodness, okay? And see, sometimes he's very free with his specials. Sometimes he isn't. See, like here, I already knew that I was in trouble. All right, so I just said, okay, let me just let him do that so I can get a few licks in here. Boom, pose a special 1, and then just take what I'm going to take. Not much, not fancy, and really not a lot of fun. But if you're doing this, make sure you bring in a power control champion for him, or else your fights will look very similar unless you get lucky and he throws his specials. Alright, so here we got Angela, and again, she has no way of doing much of anything about his power gain. So, you know, here I am, look at this, I'm trying to bait it out, okay? He threw out his special 2, which was very fortunate for me, so I was able to get a couple of licks in with Angela, okay? So here we go again, and see, while he's doing all of this, I already know what's going to happen. Now, one thing that I could have done here is when he threw his heavy, shortcut it. You'll know his heavy has like 2 parts. You know, he'll pause right after he does that very first flurry of blows, and you can attack. Like right there, I could have attacked, okay, but I didn't, and that allowed him to waste a lot of time while his power was going all the way up and get him to his L3. But what impressed me about this was that Angela actually survived his L3. That impressed me and surprised me. I wasn't ready for her to have survived it, but she actually was able to get a few more licks in. All right, so here's the mighty Thor back from the grave. So I'm getting some licks in. Of course, Thor is not going to be a great option because he can't stun him. So all I could do is try to get a few licks in. You know, the less health he has, the easier he'll be for my later guys. That's about it. And see, I'm in the corner here, but see how I attacked right there? That's what you can do all the time to kind of shortcut it. But then it was all over with. I was fighting sort of panicky because my back was in the corner and I knew he was about to wreck me. But it is what it is. Now, this fight coming up is really funny. You can already see his health, but I wanted to get a few licks in. Okay, so I'm doing nothing but trying to build my poise. What happened there? Just wouldn't evade. Now, you know right there I was not trying to attack him at all. I was just trying to evade. Alright, so raised him up because he's the only one that I wanted to fight Hyperion with. The only one that even had remotely a type of power control. Not very good, but at least is heavy. Can take that power down. But mainly it's because he does so much damage. And as you can see here, he does a lot of damage, and that taunt, down goes Hyperion. And that is Act 5.3 completed, finished, and done with. And you'll see the rewards that I got. I will not be opening them in this video, but in my next video, it's going to be a crystal opening. I'm going to open them along with my crystals. Alright, so that's going to do it, guys. If you liked the video, please consider smashing that like button. It really helps me out. If you have not subscribed already, please consider giving me a subscription. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this video. If you want to become a patron, check in the description, and there's a link to my Patreon account if you want to help support this channel. And you guys have a blessed day.